Hello, welcome to my part two of my pleasant discussion with the one and only Michael Pachter. You mentioned the next Xbox, and as of this taping, that has yet to be announced. It is pretty much a foregone conclusion. There is something, we're going to have it this year. After seeing what Sony did, where does that put Microsoft? Are they in a position where they have to kind of recalibrate what their messaging is going to be?
Oh, I think they're actually very, very conscious of what Sony's doing, and I think Sony, for what it's worth, is absolutely conscious of what Microsoft's doing. One of the reasons you didn't hear about multimedia from Sony, other than just a brief mention of Netflix, is they're holding back until they see what Microsoft's going to do, and then they're going to tweak. So I think this is one of the more interesting battles. The truth is there's going to be two new consoles in the marketplace. They're going to split market share. They're both going to be great. They're both going to sell well, and I don't really think it matters who outsells who, but they care, so we'll see. As far as Microsoft, I've been saying this stuff for a couple of years. Everything I know is based upon what I've observed. I observed that Microsoft launched Kinect. No one could actually figure out why they needed it, and yet, 15 million people bought it, some ridiculous number. That thing can't work. No peripheral can work because no one will develop any game that requires a peripheral. They'll only develop games that are for the standard that everybody has. So when they launched Kinect, it was clear to me it was an experiment, and it's going to be in every box next cycle. So Kinect is part of the next Xbox. I kind of thought Sony would do that with Move, and they didn't, which surprised me. Microsoft, if they're going to learn something, they're putting Kinect in the box. Second thing, remember the installment sale? You could buy your Xbox for $100 if you paid an extra $10 a month for Xbox Live. That was an experiment. I mentioned cable, internet, TV, through the Xbox. If I'm right, and I'm just using Comcast as an example because I don't know who they would partner with, but they make sense. If they partner with Comcast and Comcast can sell cable services outside its jurisdiction, what's the lifetime value of a Comcast customer who pays $100 a month forever, right? They're worth a lot. They're worth $10,000. You don't think Comcast is going to subsidize the next Xbox? So I think you're going to see a $100 Xbox if you sign up for Comcast. I mentioned IP, the ISPs, the internet service providers. Same thing. If you sign up for Verizon Fios, lifetime value of a Fios customer, $60 a month, it's probably $6,000. So you don't think they're going to subsidize? Happening. So I think you're going to get subsidies. I think you're going to get Kinect in the box. The things I don't actually believe that I've heard, the always connected thing, I think is odd. I mean, it's possible. I just think it limits, who can actually own the box. You can't have one in your garage that can't get to Wi-Fi. Maybe they'll do it. We're hearing those rumors.
Oh yeah, we're hearing them.
The used game thing, I think, is absolute crap that they would block used games. And I think that the guys who write the articles, I'm not going to name this guy by name because I beat up on him on Twitter, but this one guy wrote an article saying, well, you're going to take the disc and put it in the drive, and then you're going to write it to the hard drive so you can access the game instantly. Therefore, the disc can never be used again. No, not true. You'll have to have the disc in the tray to play it when it's stored on the hard drive. If you take the disc out of the tray, you can't play that game, and you can sell the disc and somebody else can do it. So you can absolutely protect the consumer and let him resell the game. You can't have him copy the game on 16 different next Xboxes. So I think people are reading that wrong, because if that were the case, why have a disc in the first place? Why not have everything just digitally download? So the point is, if there is a disc, they're going to let there be used games. So I think that one's completely wrong. I think
the one thing I wanted to ask is, I've heard many of these things as well, and there's been this anxiety among a lot of the gaming community that Microsoft is going to so push that Xbox as more of an entertainment hub, sort of downgrading the game quality. I was struck by when I went to the Sony announcement that it was all games. Could that be the philosophical split, between the two consoles?
Yeah, I think it's not quite as black and white as you presented it, but yes, I think I talked to Jack Tretton the night of the Sony event, and I said I was surprised he didn't show multimedia, and he goes, well, we're a games device, and this is a games audience. and we want to highlight that we are a games device first, and multimedia will come later. So I would say probably the right way to look at it is maybe 70-30, 80-20 in favor of games at Sony. Right now, Microsoft will tell you it's 50-50 games and other. So I think Microsoft has a more balanced view. Frankly,
but will they get the early adopters? That's the question I have, is that usually with these new consoles, it is that core that's willing to put down the maximum price what these consoles cost, that then they become the Trojan horse and they slip into that house. I mean, that's the only question I have, is whether or not Microsoft, if they were to initially go with that strategy, granted, if it's a $100 console, that's a whole different matter. But
well, yeah, I think it's going to be a $100 console. So I think the bigger problem is going to be, will they manufacture enough to address the early adopters' demand? I think not. I actually think at $100 you're going to have trouble getting an Xbox, because they're not going to make 25 million of them for the first week. So I think that's a bigger problem. I think that the hardcore guy who actually feels he has earned the right to get one first because he's been a loyal Xbox fan for 2 generations and has bought everything is going to get shut out. And I'm really interested to see that. I really am. I don't know if there'll be an arbitrage opportunity. Nobody's going to buy one and sign up for cable for 2 years and then sell it on eBay. But I mean,
it's a very good point.
But I guess you could. But I think this thing's going to be pretty compelling. And then the stuff that nobody really, I don't know why nobody gives Microsoft credit for this. They bought Skype for like $9 billion. And I know that, I had a big long NeoGAF thread calling me a moron for like
just
the 14th time in 1 week, actually, because they were like, well, Skype's not a killer app. I have Skype on my phone. I have it on my PC. I can get it on my tablet. And it's like, ask your mom if she uses the television in the living room for Skype, because she doesn't. Your mom. I mean, it's not just 16-year-old kid's mom. And if she can suddenly start talking to you in the living room, that's pretty cool. I think that's a reason to get parents to adopt it. If there's any household with a 12 to 18-year-old kid in the house who wants to play games, he's going to use that weapon against his parents. But we can talk to grandma if you buy me an Xbox.
Very good point.
I think it's a killer app.
The final thing, you and I tend to be of the same mind, and whenever we open our mouths about it, the internet responds. But Nintendo.
But we both like you?
Yeah, that's very nice. Nintendo, the Wii U, it really looks like it's on very, very shaky ground. I'm not saying Nintendo, the company, is, I'm still understanding them to be a very cash-rich company. But where do they go with this? I mean, did this console come out just a year too early because there's just there's no software?
2 years too late.
Or 2 years too late.
Yeah, they missed on this one. The console is very much like a Nintendo DS. So the gamepad is very much like the bottom half of the DS. The TV screen is the top half of the DS. And it's just not that interesting for most developers. I mean, they just don't really get why they want it. Consumers already have a DS. They don't get why they want it. And I think that coming out now, essentially marginally better than the specs of the current generation consoles, they're behind the other guys. And so I think what Nintendo's biggest problem, truthfully, is online multiplayer has passed them by. So even though they have it on the Wii U, they don't have an installed base. So I kind of think of the Wii U as being analogous to Google+. Like, it's a really slick service, but none of your friends are there.
Yeah.
So you don't go there because your friends are still on Facebook, so you just don't. And if you don't go, then they're not going to switch. And I think the Wii U's that way. You just aren't going to buy Call of Duty on it because your friends are still playing on Xbox or PS3. I don't think Nintendo is very good at admitting when they do things wrong. I have been pretty defensive of the Nintendo of America folks because, truthfully, I think they got a crappy product that nobody wants, and I don't think there's much they can do about it. So I defend them because I think that the best marketers in the world could not make that thing sell any better. Sure, they've done things wrong like everybody else, but yeah, Nintendo's not going to recover from this. It's not going to bury them. They're not going to go bankrupt. They have about $10 billion in cash. Yeah. So they're not going anywhere. But they're going to lose money, I think, this year and this coming year, the one that starts in April. And Mr. Iwata said that if they don't make 100 billion yen profit, which is like $1.1 billion, If they don't make $1.1 billion, he's going to resign. I'll take that bet. I don't think they're going to make money. I don't think they can.
I take that bet too. Pachter, Michael, always
Sessler.
such a pleasure to see you. I hope we
Pleasure to
can
be
do
here.
this again sometime soon.
Thank you.
All right.